Spirit, you're the center of my joy. All that's good and perfect comes from you. You are the heart of my contentment. Hope for all I do. Spirit, you are the center of my joy. When I've lost my direction, you're the compass for my way. You're the fire and light when the nights are long and cold. In sadness, you are the laughter that brightens up my day. When I'm all alone, your hand is there to hold. That's why I say that, Spirit, you're the center of my joy. All that's good and perfect comes from you. You are the heart of my contentment, hope for all I do. Spirit, you're the center of my joy. You are why I find the laughter in the simple things in life. You're the music in the meadows and the streams. The voices of the children in my family and my home. You're the source and the finish of my highest dreams. That's why I say that, Spirit, you're the center of my joy. All that's good and perfect comes from you. You're the heart of my contentment, yes. You're the hope for all I do. Spirit, you are the center of my joy. Spirit, you are the center of my joy. Spirit, you are the center of my joy. See, when the days and I feel alone, you comfort me, oh, you bring me home. Spirit,
What a gift. Holy cow, what a gift. Wow. I get to do this. I get to hang out in this. What a gift. Wow, what a gift you all are, because you all bring this experience. You know that? That which, what everybody needs and craves is buried within every soul's being. It's already there. All we have to do is scratch and sniff. It's already there. Thank you so much, Celebration. So, a couple of weeks ago, I was being facetious. And I said, sometimes I'd rather be a custodian than doing what I'm doing. And that's not true. I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm also doing exactly what I want to do. I know I'm called to do this. But what was my point? My point was that when I was a custodian, it was so easy for me to be in a space of contemplation. I could always be present. Life was simpler. I was in my 20s, early 20s, like 20, 21, 22. And there wasn't much going on up here, so I was free to contemplate all day long. Scrubbing a toilet, taking out the trash, and contemplating the presence and experiencing the presence. In this position, things are much more complex. There's a lot of decisions to be made. Back then, I only had to use, let's grab the toilet cleaner, and very few decisions. It was simple. No kids, no spouse, no partner, no other serious thing going on. Life today, as everybody can attest to, life is more complex than it ever used to be, right? Unless you've retired and you're hanging with grandkids all the time, then woohoo. So I get that. But, so that's my point. With what's going on in the world, what I was craving, what I was free to experience was being way beneath the waves at the deep depths. Like those guys, the deep sea divers that go down and pick up like abalone and sponges in third world countries, they just have to hold their breath. But they go down and they see this incredible color and this incredible world. Then they come up to the surface and there's the crashing waves in the world as we know it, the noise, the honking, and all the stuff. And yet there's that part of all of us, and we get this. We crave going down to those depths where it's silent, seeing the beauty in the stillness. The craving of our heart and soul is to go back into that divine presence. But the noisiness of this world distracts us. So, okay. So Celebration, you're driving down the road and you see Celebration at a street corner singing, and they're tearing it up. And you're in the car with somebody and there's a really important conversation going on. Would you roll down the window and listen? Yes. So when I'm talking to Kristen, really deep, really important conversation, I pull up behind a Ferrari. And she's coming to something really important, and I sneak her window down because it was on her side. She doesn't like that. But honey, the music, don't you get it? I go to a racetrack and I smell that high octane fuel and I literally want to put it, oh God. I start getting giggly when I see you go, and then the pop, 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 when they get off the throttle, oh God, it's the way I'm wired. I'm sorry. Accept me as I am. But the reality is that we got all this stuff going on in the world, and yet we want to be attentive. We want to be in tune with the needs of the people around us. And we have many more obligations now than we've ever done. The other day, sweet Joni walked into the office, and everybody was engaged in a deep conversation. And Joni's like family. And so I just kind of saw her and just was engaged in my conversation, but I didn't greet her. And I just and if you saw the weekly video, that's what I was talking about. So it's a family member, not like somebody came here asking for food and we ignored them. It wasn't that at all. But the busyness of the day, I made a conscious choice, and I wasn't comfortable with it. There was a dissonance because I knew I needed to break off this conversation and greet a sister and love her and then continue on with my thing. And I think this person would have been okay with that. But there's two things in us. We live in two realms. That deep sea diver lives in the stillness of the presence of God. It's the metaphor for our life. When we go into meditation and prayer and we're feeling that presence. And then when we're done with it and we got all the distraction of life going on. How can we be deep and be up here at the same time? Practice, practice, practice. Always be centered. It's practice. There's a dissonance. The more that we spend time in the depths, there's the craving of our heart to bring it with us wherever we go. And yet, I was in Tammy's office just a couple days ago, and she created something that was really beautiful, and I started weeping, and I just thanked her, and I said, please forgive me if I don't thank you enough for what you do. And our entire staff, there's so many devoted souls, and what Kelly did. There's so, like AJ's video, if you didn't see it, go on the website, but the acts of devotion, the pew fairies, the things people do behind the scenes as an act of devotion and love, because what they've experienced is a transformed life from hanging in this community over the years. And they bring that energy that helps more people experience transformation. Now, what is the secret sauce? It's all about love. So that's what we experience in the presence are the characteristics, the nature of God, which is only two things. It's love and it's peace. And we want that to be our cologne or our perfume or whatever, that a cloud that we walk in, like Pigpen walks in that cloud, But we want to bring that peace and that love wherever we go. We don't want to check out like the time clock and then, okay, now I'm in the world, da, 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 da. So when I was in the mortgage business, I was just, 60, 70 phone calls a day, incoming alone. And it's like, and then just that moment where the highlight of my week was when somebody would just talk about stuff, life. And I'd put down my files and just be present. Oh my gosh, it was like a preview. Years ago, I had been involved in ministry, and then I had these years of a career. And all of a sudden, there were moments where everything would just stop, and I could be present with somebody, and I could bring that peace from the depths into the room. And you could see the calming effect in somebody's life that's struggling for air, and you bring that love and that peace, and you see a life transformed. I say, oh God, I want the front row seat. That's why I'm here today, because I got to see lives transformed. And oh my gosh, it's incredible. That's why we're here. Everything we do, all the dissonance, all the tumult in our lives, every little exam, every little test, every little stressor that happens to us isn't happening against us. What it's doing is it's stretching us so that we have the capacity that no matter what, I can bring from the depth of my soul peace and love. And it gets to where it's unconscious because who you are has been transformed by continually in our morning devotion time or in our evening devotion time, continually diving deep and being present, being centered. And then we surrender everything in our life that would stand in the way of that presence. We welcome that presence to take over and to displace fear, confusion, anger. So that someday, no matter what it is, whether you're slicing a golf ball, your last golf ball into the woods, or somebody cuts you off in traffic, there's a party, all of a sudden you're not critical. You start giggling. And you feel compassion and love. And sure enough, you walk over to the out of bounds line and you find 6 more balls. So it's like, hey, it's a gift. A dear friend of mine in El Cajon started golfing with her husband. She goes, oh, you'll never believe it. It's the old administrator. I got a piece of music from her, so for the Veterans Day thing. It'll be fun. You're going to love it. If you're a veteran, you're going to love it. So anyhow, she was saying, oh, I started golfing with Howard, and he's so happy. And I'm like, oh. But it's just fun to be able to do something together in community. But there's a double-edged sword when you do stuff together. There's more opportunity for conflict. Our greatest gift in this lifetime is somebody with whom we can engage to work out our junk with. Being in close contact is constant friction. It is a gift. It is a gift. Nothing is happening against us. But when we've opened our heart completely to that soulmate of ours, and that soulmate brings something that's like, ow. It's not their words that ow, it's the defense of, no, I'm not, I'm like this. The resistance is the source of suffering, not somebody bringing, especially when there's a tear in the eye, they want to confront you on a scotoma, a blind spot that you may have. Just know that for somebody to have the courage to bring something up. Now, there's some people that are just critical, judgmental, but I'm talking in the context of love. You see, we can easily be judgmental and critical and not very nice if we're not coming from a place of love. We've got two things inside of us. We've got the depths of the heavenly experience present all the time. But again, it's beneath the waves. So when our life is so busy, so the point was that I was making with Tammy about 7 minutes ago, was that we get so busy that I don't stop and say, wow, Tammy, I don't know how long it's been since I've thanked her for what she's done. And so we get the busyness and we don't get to experience. So there's this pent-up emotion. So when I finally do say, wow, all of a sudden the tears came. And it was incredible. I'm like, wow, I'm so sorry I don't do this more often. When I used to be more of an extrovert. And we came here, and Kristen is like over-the-moon extrovert. So it's allowed me to be more contemplative or less extroverted. So we'll walk in the morning, and she greets people like she hasn't seen them in a month. Oh, hi, squeeze. She just saw her like 12 hours ago. And since she's had the experience with cancer, she's determined, I will no longer leave any good thing left unsaid. And that's her life. That's my bride that I get to work life out with. And so it's disarming when she says something that's, hey, I think we got a scotoma here. You know what I'm talking about? But we're bringing all things together, and it takes practice. I didn't have the capacity when I was 20 years old to make this many decisions and still walk around in the presence. It takes years of practice and years of surrender. The animal nature, left by its own devices, is a hunter-gatherer. It acquires, it grasps, it craves, it needs. It sucks the energy out of a room. It's a carnivore. It takes energy from something else so that it'll survive. In consciousness, when we reach a tipping point, all of a sudden we're emitting energy. We're changing the mood in a room by just being authentic. We don't have to be anything but be natural because we've become more love. The more we dive deep into the presence and allow that up, we become more Christ-like. Mother Teresa, one of her great quotes is, she sees Jesus in all of his distressing disguises. And so every soul that we meet is an emanation. It's an expression of the divine Christ, camouflaged in a body. That could be a dog or it could be a cat. Any sentient life has a radiant presence of God, or you know what? It wouldn't be alive. Nothing can die. I had that realization at 3 years old. All of a sudden I woke up. How did I get in this little boy's body? Wow. I knew I wasn't the body. I knew I had already existed. But how did I get in this body? Then the question came up, well, what if I didn't have a life? And I went into terror of, non-existence. Whoa. And I'm like, wait a minute. I have a life. I can't not be. And I've heard that confirmed through great teachers that I trust, people that are enlightened that I trust. There cannot be. And the people that remember having multiple lifetimes, it's like, I just step out of the body. That's not me. Life goes on. Life goes on. It can't end. So if we know that, if we spend time in that knowledge that we are eternal, we'll lose all the fear. And then if we lose the fear, we lose the need to defend. The Apostle Paul started chapter 13, 1 Corinthians 13, about love. Love is patient. How patient is love? Pretty much more patient than all of us. Love is more patient than we are, especially when we're being run by animal responses, reactions. And that takes a tremendous amount of surrender. But God is eternally patient. Eternally patient. I think most all of our conflicts occur because we're impatient and we want somebody to quickly change to align with our point of view. But if we had all the patience in the world, we knew we were never going to die, we were here forever, would we be a little different in our negotiations about seeing things a certain way? If we could see the whole landscape that we're here forever, when I mean here forever, I mean we're alive forever. And that depth of the core of what we are is always present, always available, always within, but it awaits our choice to dive. Eventually that presence does truly radiate every part of our being. And so it's that practice that brings it up. The biggest crime would be to wake up tomorrow morning as we have similarly for the last 20 years. Or for the next 20 years to be the same as the last 20 years. Life is to be dynamic. Jesus said, you got to be like a little child. You need to be like a little child. Why? Little children believe when you tell them the roses are red. They believe roses are red. And then the next day they see a yellow rose for the first time. Oh, roses can be yellow too. Their world just changed and they totally accept it. They don't get resentful. You told me. Wow. They adapt. Be like a little child. Don't be the way you've been every day. I think it was Deming. He was an industrialist. The biggest engineering award in Japan every year is given in the Deming Award. He was an American. That he advocated a little bit of improvement every day. It's a little bit of improvement every day. We're seeking perfection. And in our spiritual practice, if we do a little practice every day, pretty soon it inculcates our entire being and we become Christ, presence. We're reflecting the same energy that Jesus talked about. Greater things than these I have done, you shall do also. You'll be able to love your neighbor as yourself. How can that be? How can you love your neighbor as yourself? Well, I'll tell you, when you see the innocence of your soul, when you see a picture, like I have a picture of myself at 4 years old on my wall, and I see that innocent little kid, and whenever I get a critical thought, I can just look at that little Brian and know, wow, pure, sweet intention, innocent, the whole world is beautiful. And I see that innocence, and then I look in the mirror and go, I love you. You're doing good. I'm really happy for the work you've done. You're not the same person you were 20, 30 years ago. You've been through a lot of change. You've weathered a lot of storms, and I love you. Proud of you. Makes sense? Be like a little child. Oh, sweet Spirit. Oh, yeah. Thanks. So to be equanimous, to be in a place of equanimity, no matter what's going on, that's the end game. All we are here for is love. So if we can tap into that experience of the presence of love and peace, no matter what's going on, that's what it's all about. That's the purpose of life. That's it. To become Christ-like, no matter the storm, no matter what. It's the true core of the essence of our being. Already is love and peace. We just have to make space for it by displacing the animal nature and inviting that presence up, by surrendering to that divine presence within. Amen? Bless you. Let's go to the takeaways. We've got a few takeaways here. It's basically a few of the things in your bulletin. If we're mindful, every challenge is a stairway to greater love and compassion. Practicing mindfulness, it's crucial. Second one, to truly know is to be. The mind will tell us all about something, but we can never truly know until we surrender to that. The only pathway to truly know is to surrender to that. It's to take our third step and surrender to the God of our understanding. And the third point, practice your ABCs. Always be centered. Amen. Love you guys.
Thanks for joining us today. And if you like the message, we invite you to like it, share it, and please subscribe.
We are a New Thought church where lives are transformed. So come on, check us out at unityhills.org.
Namaste.